there was the fat sack of money. He counted out the thick gold coins, his eyes flicking to the photo of the hatchet-nosed man once every few seconds, and he waited. Now that the negotiations were over, now that his rate and his team had been established, and the money had changed hands, the small talk would begin. It was always the same with these government types. They were deeply confused by the juxtaposition of his vague accent and his eyes. His country's accent, his parents' eyes. "So, where are you from?" Ah, yes, there it was. They could begin the requisite dialogue about where he was from and where he was from. Houndstooth didn't look up from the coins. Blackpool. He could have made his tone frostier, but being in the presence of such a lovely stack of hard money warmed him like a milky cup of Earl Grey. When the agent didn't immediately respond, Houndstooth paused in his counting, placing a mental finger next to the number 4,000. The agent was staring at him with such blue eyes, such attentive eyes. "You don't sound British," the agent said quietly. Houndstooth found himself intrigued by the catch in the young man's voice. "Yes, well," Winslow Houndstooth replied with a crocodile grin. "I suppose my accent's almost gone by now. I've been in Georgia for some time. I came to the States to be a hopper, and once I tasted my first Georgia peach—" He reached across the table to touch the agent's arm, scattering the photos. "It was just too sweet for me to leave." The federal agent's cheeks reddened, and Houndstooth's smile grew. He didn't move his hand. "I do so love the peaches down here." Winslow Houndstooth left the federal agent's office an hour and 47 minutes later, smoothing his hair with an elaborately carved comb. He eased the door shut behind him with a small smile. That young man would need to take a nap for the rest of the afternoon. The sack of gold coins was heavy, and he divided it evenly into each of Ruby's saddlebags. She could have carried the weight on one side easily. $8,000 in U.S. government gold would hardly wind her, but it pleased him to know that he was flanked by $4,000 on each side. He swung himself into the kneeling saddle on Ruby's back. She grunted at him. Ruby had settled her bulk deep into the water-filled trench next to the hitching post. She wasn't made for long periods standing on land, although her breed could do it for longer than most. The Cambridge black hippopotamus was the finest breed in the United States, sleeker, faster, and deadlier than any other hippo on the water. Ruby wasn't bred for meat. She was a hopper's hippo, meant for herding her slower grazing cousins. Ruby was onyx black and lustrous. She looked like a shadowy, lithe version of a standard hippo. She stood 5 feet tall at the shoulder, about the height of a standard Carolina marsh tacky. Although horses, tackies included, were rare, ever since the marsh expansion project had rendered their thin legs a liability on the muddy, pocked roads. Her barrel chest swung low to the ground over short legs, perfect for propelling her through marshy waters when her rider needed to round up wayward hippos on the ranch. She grumbled on land, but could carry Houndstooth up to 10 miles overland between dips in the water, another marker of her superior breeding. Her cousins could only do 6 miles, and that only under duress. Fortunately, she was rarely out of the water that long. "I know, girlie, I shouldn't have left you out here by yourself for so long, but you know I just can't resist blue-eyed boys." Houndstooth patted Ruby's flank, and she let out a little rumble, standing under him and dripping freely for a few moments. She lifted her broad, flat nose briefly and yawned wide. Her jaw swung open by nearly 180 degrees, revealing her wickedly sharp, gold-plated tusks. They gleamed in the late afternoon sun.